Watch Who.
Hello, and welcome to the To Watch Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I am new to Who.
Yes. And we're in
You always say that. So, yes.
Okay.
As in, so, no, it's funny. You always say it so like, unconvinced, Mark. You're very unconvinced by my newness.
Well, I was about to say, we're in our second series already, so you're starting to get some knowledge of the classic series.
I'm still new to it. Yeah, I mean, I'm still quite new, you know. Things still take me back. Well, I would say I'm new because it's all new to me, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So I stick by my new statement.
Well, yes, and just to explain, you don't know what's coming up or what's going to be happening story by story, which I still find the most exciting thing.
It's the little things, isn't it?
And it's fair to say this is a big story this time. This is a groundbreaking story. Well, maybe not groundbreaking, but it's a big story to talk about this time.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So we started off Planet of the Giants last week of the second series, and we really enjoyed that one.
Yes, we did.
Not the most popular story to start off the second series. We left off then. What happened at the end of Planet of the Giants? Where do we go? Oh, it was World's End, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the title.
Yeah. And then we go into the Dalek invasion of Earth.
Yeah, which was well, it was great, wasn't it?
I think you'd better let us go.
We do not release prisoners. We are the masters of the earth.
Not for long.
Obey us or die.
There was so much in it that I did not expect. So, First of all, before we go any further, it is so much better season 2 compared to season 1. Like, so much better already. We're only 2 episodes in.
It's strange that we're talking sort of seasons and we're sort of presenting this as series 1 and series 2. I've never really thought of the 60s ones. I've always thought of them as just sort of going through year by year. It's more of a sort of a new Who thing to say series 1, series 2. And with the new series, they always have that sort of series opener, which is why Planet of the Giants is a wit. You'd think that this first episode of Dalek Invasion of Earth, it makes such a great series opener if the series came back like this.
But I do think it's quite nice considering where this story goes, I think it's nice to open with those characters as it does with the last episode.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And we go into...
Not to dwell on the last episode, but yeah.
Yeah. And this is the height of, the Daleks are really popular by this point. This is Dalek Mania time. I mean, this was the front of the Radio Times. This is when all the toys are in the shops. This is, the big... And you can tell they've really put everything into this story.
I wondered when we were watching it. Well, so we're still in isolation. So
oh yeah, sorry, just to say that we're still watching separately over the internet, and
which is weird. I realised watching this actually that I really struggle watching it, and I think it's because I find it easier watching it together.
Hopefully, by the time this episode goes out, we might not be in isolation anymore. We are recording quite far in advance, so fingers crossed. I feel like, do you know what? I feel like we're in that bunker with Dortmund and Barbara and Susan, and in the hiding from the Daleks.
It's weird.
Barbara's handing out the apples, and they're making the bombs and stuff.
There was a point when, so it was the first episode of it, when they talked about if you arrived in London and you wouldn't recognise it because no one's around and you can't hear Big Ben. And I thought that's what you'd hear now because Big Ben's in Big Ben's not chiming because it's getting all done up. So you wouldn't hear Big Ben. And everyone's in isolation, so there is no one around. And I thought, that's what you get right now. If you were some time travelers and arrived in London, you wouldn't maybe recognise them. You'd think, what has happened to it? Because it wouldn't be what you
Did you pick up the bit where they mentioned there was like a plague or something before the Daleks arrived?
Did you pick up the bit about Battersea as well? And he says something about, look at Battersea. And he was like, oh, they must have moved to nuclear power or something. There's so many, because, it's, and this is before like the coal miners strike and stuff, in the 80s. So there's so many weird things like that in it that, yeah.
Yeah, it does sort of resonate, doesn't it, when you watch it, depending on when you watch it. I mean, when I watched this years and years ago, none of that really, it seems so far-fetched. And now you're like, oh, actually,
yeah,
you can sort of identify a bit more, which is quite scary.
No, definitely.
But sort of just going back to sort of when this was on, though. So this is such a big story, such a classic fan favourite as well, for obvious reasons, and just all that location filming, just the number of characters as well.
So
as we've been watching, we've had our few sort of side characters, but there's so many people in there, and there's so many. I don't know if you noticed, so many extras. They've really put the budget into this. This story is so iconic with the Daleks going across the bridge. I don't know if you remember when the 2005 series started, Radio Times they recreated a Dalek with Westminster in the background. That's such an iconic image. It's so much merchandise with that on, and it really is like, this is Doctor Who at its absolute peak in the 60s, this story.
They go to so many locations. They go all over London.
It's so great to see. And the good thing about it as well, I was talking about locations in the other episode with Reign of Terror, but this is like the proper first location filming. And with London as well, because of those landmarks, they don't change. You can go to Trafalgar Square. When I last went, I went to London the other month and went to Trafalgar Square and lined up. There's the shot of the Daleks, and I stood and I lined up the shot, and there's a photo of me in that same place. Because it hasn't really changed. And is it the Albert Hall when they're going along? That has not changed at all. So on the DVD, there's like a now and then. I mean, that was about 2003 they made that, and it shows the location and it lines them up. That's one of my favourite features on the DVDs. They line up like then and now, and you can go to these places and they're still there. And that I really want to go. Next time I go into London, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to that opening shot where that Robo Man goes down the steps and goes into the water in the Thames. Those steps there where they land, that is still like, I mean, it's a bit disused and it's under a bridge. I can't remember, like near Kew or something. I'm going to go there and recreate that moment. I mean, I won't get in the water or anything, but I'm going to go to those steps because you can still go. Those steps are still there. I don't know. That is like a proper Doctor Who experience going. I don't know. There's sort of a connection there. I don't know what it is. I just love going to locations like that and it being still exactly the same as it was like 50 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was it like that was really exciting. It was really exciting.
And like the so just jumping ahead a bit, going into in that first episode when Barbara is sort of chasing after those rebels where they go into the underground thing and they take it when she's running through and there's like the disused train station. It's so filmic and we've never seen that before. This is like, we've always been in this tiny studio with like two sets and then suddenly you're on film, there's action, there's loads of extras, landmarks. It's so good.
Right from the start, you can tell, it's going to be different. The Doctor and Ian start climbing up. So you have like, oh, right. First of all, let's just go from the very beginning. Let's go from Susan falling over and like the bridge falling on the TARDIS.
Okay.
So that happened and I literally went, classic Susan. Susan.
Yeah, I know. And she hurts her ankle.
What a Susan thing to do. And also an entire bridge falling on the TARDIS. Like, what are the chances? So, of course that happened. But right from the start, the Doctor and Ian go up that staircase and go into that abandoned building. That whole thing, and that's within the first, 5 minutes? First 5-10 minutes? That is so different to anything we've seen in Series 1.
Do you think it's because it's that familiar set on Earth? We've either been in space or back in time. We haven't had anything present day as such. I mean, apart from really sort of Planet of the Giants, which was a bit fantasy. This is the first time they've been on Earth. Well, not present day, obviously, but things that we recognise. Maybe that's what it is.
But at that point, I still don't think you recognise. And actually, there was something else that I read. So, which again is going to be a bit controversial, I'm sure. But this was Terry Nation that wrote this, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I was a bit disappointed when I saw it was Terry Nation, because I swear
Hang on. He wrote Keys of Marinus.
Did he? So what else has he done apart from
the
Keys of
Daleks?
Marinus?
So he created the Daleks, so that he writes for quite a while. He writes every Dalek story for a bit.
Okay, so maybe I was mixing him up with someone else. There's Terry Nation, and there's another name that regularly came up in season 1.
So there's the guy that wrote Marco Polo and the Aztecs.
Yeah. There was a name that I swear came up quite a lot in season 1, and as well as Terry Nation.
Well, there's the script editor, David Whittaker. He's always on the credits, and he wrote Edge of Destruction. But he edits the whole series.
No, it wasn't that. No, I don't know. Part of me, maybe it was just like that initial thing of me thinking it's going to be the same as all of Series 1. Maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just a nostalgia of Series 1.
We did talk about Terry Nation before, as his stories are quite similar, where, like in the Daleks, they land, they explore the city. Same as Keys of Marinus, they land and then they explore the city. We talked about that being very similar. And here, they land and explore. He does his Doctor Who sort of by numbers. They are quite similar all the time.
Maybe that's it.
But I love a Terry Nation episode 1. I really, really love that landing and exploring, which has happened every time. And especially in this, with the mystery in the warehouse and what's going on. I mean, but everyone's waiting for the Daleks to turn up. You know it's going to be the Daleks.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it is the Terry Nation. I don't know. I just saw his name and I was really disappointed. So it's either that, because I know that it's going to be. It's either because we've discussed and I'm thinking it's just going to be a typical classic storyline, or I've just associated with the whole of season 1. And my big gripe with season 1 is they pretty much all followed the same pattern.
This is probably the best 6-parter. It didn't drag as a 6-parter.
It felt a little bit draggy for me.
Well, shall we do our usual 4 characters? And I think everything will be listed out in that to begin with.
Yeah, okay. And then I can tell you where it felt draggy.
Yeah, we can go through what everybody... Because for the 4 regulars, they all get their bit in this. Nobody has a holiday, apart from... I don't know... I'll just address this now. So William Hartnell isn't in episode 4. It wasn't a holiday. So when they were rehearsing, he got hit by a camera or something and had to be off for a week because he hurt his back. So they had to write him out quickly. So it wasn't a holiday. I know it's like a double that gets up at the beginning of episode 4 and faints. That's the only reason he's not in it as the Doctor. And
yeah, I noticed.
Medical reasons rather than holiday.
I did notice that he seemed absent for a bit.
So yeah, that's why they leave him unconscious, just lying around in the road somewhere.
Because of medical reasons. And he was unconscious.
But imagine though, I'm just sorry, just what I'm talking about. Imagine though, one, I would be scared to work with William Hartnell. I think he would be a scary person. But imagine if you accidentally injured him at work. Imagine how angry I would hate for William Hartnell to ever go at me.
Can you imagine that nowadays? Can you imagine, like, when you said that I thought of like a TV advert. Have you had an injury at work, in the workplace or something like that?
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it was just normal then. I think it was, they were rehearsing, I don't know. Something happened. Also, I think when they attack in the ship and they're carrying him off the ship. I think it's like something happened and he got hit by accident and had to write him out quickly. So, but apart from that, they all really have something to do. They've all got their own strands and their own storylines within this six-parter. So if we go sort of one by one, who do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the Doctor then. Let's just talk about the Doctor because we're talking about him already.
Okay, so he does have less to do as usual, as we sort of come to know. I mean, his first thing, there's him and Susan at the beginning. He has a go at Susan for knocking that bridge over.
And what does he say to her? It's a really weird insult he gives her.
And you bathe that ankle. What you need is a jolly good smack bottom.
It's like, what?
He's very grandfatherly in this, isn't he? He's very... He's friendly, he's nice, but Susan is well down as the child at the beginning of this. His next thing, he is unconscious for a bit, isn't he? Because he tries to get robotized on the ship, and he is off. So he does tick the unconscious box.
Classic, but that's fine.
But then he doesn't. He helps at the end. It's the others that really do a lot. It's Ian and Barbara again, really.
It's a very unusual one. They're all very separate. Normally in these stories, they're in pairs, which is the first time we've had that I can think of. Even in Keys and Marinus, they were all in some ways supportive of someone else. Even when Barbara got stolen with little hands, Ian went with her to go and get her. It's rare that someone is completely alone in a place of danger for long. And it's like, we're not talking a little bit, we're talking like 1 or 2 or 3 episodes where, Ian is pretty much the entire time by himself.
He is, yeah. And I think...
And Barbara.
Well, they've all got... I think that's why the guest cast is so large, because they all need people to... And, Susan goes off with David for a bit.
Yeah, and then she gets the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't meet up with Barbara and Ian until the last episode.
No, they're complete...
Because I texted you and said, none of them meet up until that last episode.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Doctor doesn't really... out of all of them, he gets sort of the worst deal, because he's looking after Susan a bit, and then he's, he has that dinner, he's cooking that fish with Susan and David, and they have a little camp near Bedfordshire somewhere. Then he goes into the city. He doesn't really do anything with the bomb. He doesn't really... It's everybody else sort of does their bit, and he sort of coordinates them, I suppose. But apart from that, out of everybody, he's the one that doesn't really get the action.
Do you know what, though? This is the first episode where you really see how frail he is.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I think he's on quite good form in this.
No, I think it felt it's a very hands-on, active episode. There's a lot of running. There's a lot of movement. Ian never takes his suit off, but we'll come to that. But it's a lot of hard work.
Well, he's never really done the action stuff, and it could be, maybe it's down to him being injured when they're making it and he can't do as much.
Yeah. And it's little things that I noticed. Things like the way that when they were pushing him off, they didn't push him, but they'll push Ian because they can. Or when they were taking him off the bed, and it's ironic you say that, they are a bit more gentle with him, or putting him on the bed because he is older and a bit more frail, maybe. It's the first time that I'd noticed.
You wouldn't get him running through London like Barbara does. You wouldn't get William Hartnell up at 5:30 in the filming, probably.
No.
But I think the strong points for the Doctor is when that Dalek comes out the water and he faces them and he's like, "We're going to defeat you." And then at the end, you've got that bit where he faces up against the Daleks and he does his bit. He does his heroic bit against the Daleks. There is sort of moments.
The Doctor's strength is his mind.
Yes.
So that is where, like, when they're in that prison in the Daleks thing, and he's there working out how they're going to get out, and he uses his mind and the science, and there's the other guy.
Oh yes, that was really good. Yeah,
that is, and he's very confident and he's very set, and he's like, no, got this. That is where the Doctor is at his best, at his strengths.
And I was watching that whole scene, you know, where he's doing the thing with the magnet, thinking, don't fluff up your lines. This is a really long scene. You've got to get the magnet right. You've got to do this. You've got to explain it, all the science. You've got to do, and he did it. To be fair, he did it perfectly. He did not mess up at all.
But that is where the Doctor, not talking William Hartnell, I'm talking the Doctor, the character, is at his best.
His other part of this is the sort of emotional side with Susan, because there's that bit with Susan talking about David, and David says, oh, we need to go to Bedfordshire, and then he makes it sound like David is sort of the leader and gives his approval.
I'm pretty sure the actor playing David came in too soon into that scene, because did you notice that? He runs in a little bit too soon.
Yeah, he runs in, doesn't he?
Just, I think, like maybe 5 seconds too soon. Go on.
And then when Susan and David are there with the fish and stuff, and then the Doctor's like, oh, something's cooking.
That is proper, like, awkward family moment.
So, yeah, you've got all that side. The Doctor there and does all that side, and it's a nice build through. I mean, it's still quite sudden. We'll get to that with Susan. But it's still, he obviously, you know, they've written that you've got that sort of classic beginning with Susan and the ankle being told off. And then as it sort of develops through, there's the Doctor sort of realising she needs to sort of move on and she needs her own life. I mean, they've done it as much as they can in a Doctor Who adventure story, science fiction story. They've put enough. I mean, it's not going to be.
Oh yeah, completely.
You know,
let's talk about Barbara.
Okay, Barbara.
This is really strong for Barbara.
Absolutely.
I think it's because she has to, because she's on her own. So, I mean, if she doesn't, she's like stuck.
She's there. She's nurse again, as you say, with Susan. And then, but that bit where she's I mean, this is, for me, this is the Barbara that's coping with the situation. She's been through many situations now, so she's coping better than maybe she would have last Dalek story.
Yeah.
And she really gets into it when she's with those sort of rebels underground. She's the one that comes up with the idea.
Some of your men could disguise themselves as robo-men. They could pretend to be escorting a batch of prisoners to the saucer or something.
It'll work.
Yes.
She gets in there helping to fight when they attack the saucer. And when they're attacking the saucer and Susan's like, no. And then literally Barbara's like, get off, Susan, I'm going. Sort of like she dismisses Susan.
She does, yeah.
And she's like, I am helping to fight. And then she's mechanic. She's a bus driver.
Yeah. And she's got it all planned out. She's like, when the spaceship comes, she's like, right, get off now, go. She's like, she's all over it.
Barbara running over those Daleks in the bus has got to be Barbara's finest moment.
I text you that, like, add that as a Oscar nomination potential already. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, ahead of next seasons, because, yeah, great moment from her.
And she's got that sort of friendship with Jenny.
What did you call it?
We'll talk about Jenny.
Balaclava.
That I love that those scenes of them running through London are amazing and wonderful. Apart from that balaclava that is so annoying. It's like, and it's pointed as well. It's just this. Oh, it's awful. Why did she do that? It just ruins it for me. I cannot unsee that balaclava. It's just. I think on the DVD I think it was they filmed all the location stuff first and they couldn't decide. I think they were going to like dye her hair or something, so that's why she's got it on in case they dyed it later for the.
Oh, I see.
I think they dyed her blonde for the studio or something like that. There was a reason. It's a production reason why she's wearing the balaclava. But yeah, that's really. But Barbara running through London. Oh, it's so good. She does really well in this. And she comes up with the idea. She goes straight to the Daleks. I mean, she gets out that mine. She's like, I demand to see the Daleks. I mean, it doesn't work out and she gets captured, but
Yeah, but it's her idea.
This is 100% Barbara for me in this. She is amazing. You cannot fault Barbara, surely.
No, she has a great time. She does really well here. A lot of my positive memories of this episode are Barbara.
Wow. That is
praise indeed.
What a turnaround.
I know.
She doesn't know what's happened to Ian or the Doctor. She's just doing what she thinks they would do because she knows them so well by now. I don't know. She's not really, oh, what do I do? Oh, let's wait here for them. She's like, right, I think the Doctor's going to head there. It sounds like that's the kind of thing he would do. I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
And she drives to Bedford as well. I mean, Ian takes the saucer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Barbara takes the bus.
So funny.
And that bit with I call them the witches. You know where they Jenny and Barbara stop off.
The witches. So random. There's so many random characters in this.
But it's so good though that they meet these people. It makes the journey. It makes them seem like they have gone on a long journey because you get these. Because, for example, like the Aztecs, where you've got your three characters that are there for the whole story, you don't really feel like that's a large space or a large society. Here, you feel like she has driven from London to Bedford. They've stopped off on the way. They've had to do various different things. It just makes it feel like having that scene with the witches in that on the way, and it really does add to it.
There are so many characters in this that you see for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and they're dead. Or and not just, I mean, like, I'm talking like interaction with. I'm like, we'll come to it more, but Ian's with lots of people, but when he's in the mine, the person that Ian is with, and one of the robot men is turns out to be his brother.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that character's there for like 10 seconds, like if that, but suddenly this person's his brother. So this is like, it's not just some random character as such. This is now a person to impact that story. These people, sometimes these little side characters, they still have an impact within it. It's really
they
interesting.
Do, yeah. And I think maybe because I'm older watching it, you get more out of it that way. Like there was the guy that was with Ian and the Doctor in the ship at the beginning when he's doing his magnetising bit. There's that background character, and I think he gets turned into a Robo-Man the next episode. When
he does.
They're trying to escape the ship. And
he does at some point, yeah.
I don't think I'd ever realised that before. Because actually, he's a funny character, and there's a good sort of interaction between him and the Doctor. The Doctor's like, be quiet, leave me alone, stop, And then he's quite a fun character. And then next second, he's a Robo-Man, and he's dead. And I think that's what this story's got. It's got the threat is actually quite real. And the Daleks, we never talk about the Daleks, do we? We never, but they're not, I don't find them particularly scary, but they are a threat, and you feel that everybody is in danger, and the threat is real, and the risks they're taking are real, because you're meeting these characters, and anybody can die at any minute.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. The very first episode, I mean, to some extent, I knew it was going to be the Daleks because I watched it on Britbox, and my issues with Britbox, I will talk about another time. But regardless, I didn't know 100% what was happening.
It would be amazing if, there was so much, I think there was so much publicity about the Daleks are coming back because they were so popular. Everyone knows that it's going to be the Daleks at the end. But imagine if they kept that like a spoiler-free, like a secret that they were coming back. That would have made that episode even more amazing. If someone's watching that and doesn't know that it's the Daleks, that's such a good way to build it up to them arriving.
If we'd have been watching it like we normally do with the DVD, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I wouldn't have told you.
No.
I wouldn't have told you until I would have hid the DVD.
Yeah. So whereas Britbox has it as the title.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Okay, well, talking about that first episode, we'll go on to Ian, because Ian gets a bit of action as well straight away, doesn't he? Because he in that warehouse where he nearly falls out of he opens that door.
Yeah.
And it's all falling apart. That's his first bit. And he and the Doctor are on the ship, aren't they? So Ian gets stuck in the ship and hides away. And he's down in Bedfordshire for most of it, isn't he? And he does all of that. And he meets his own monster. He meets that Slither.
Yeah, Sliver.
Maybe not the most successful part of this story.
I'm trying to remember the Sliver.
You know, it was like that blobby thing. And then the cliffhanger was it was after them, and then that's why he had to go into the mine shaft, because it was coming after them, and he got into the basket and it went down underground.
See, now it's interesting you say that, because I didn't clock that as the Sliver. That's so funny. I sort of had them as two separate entities. The idea of the Sliver being a thing, and then that being a what the hell is that? I didn't put the two together.
That bit is probably a bit of a weaker part of the story, where it's not so clear, because there's that guy that's like smuggling in things and out. He gets killed by the Slither. It comes and like gets him.
You come in here. Is there any reason why you shouldn't take me out?
I can take you out at the right price.
And what's that?
Gold, precious metal, jewels.
I don't have anything like that.
Then I hope you manage to avoid the Slither as you leave.
And then they're talking about it before, and you can sort of hear it off screen. I don't know if I thought someone had pressed the button a bit too early or something with the roar of it. Because you can hear it outside.
Just going back, let's talk about that guy. Him getting all
the smuggling?
Yeah, him getting all that gold and all that sort of stuff. What's the point? What's he going to do with it? Why does he need all that gold? Like, I was watching it, I was like, what are you going to do with it? Like, can't spend it, can't enjoy it. Like, you can look at it, that's about it.
Well, I suppose gold's always valuable
for what?
At some point in the...
For when? Like, they're stuck underground. What's he going to do with it? Anyway, that was my thoughts. I was like, why are you so keen on the gold, mate? Like, can't do what with it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Anyway, people like gold, but you're lost. I'd be more like, give me clothing or food or something practical, you know?
And they're all eating out of their tins and everything. And so yeah, Ian ends up underground, and he gets another cliffhanger, doesn't he? The funniest bit with Ian, you know, when they're like, right, we're ready to send off this bomb, and he's hiding, and then suddenly it closes up, and like he's been hiding inside the bomb the whole time.
I know, yeah. Classic. But also, I had because Ian is a hero, I was like, he'll be okay.
Yeah, so a very good bit for Ian. He does quite a lot on his own, actually. He has his friends here and there, but he does a lot of the stuff on his own. And so, sorry, just talking about his suit, obviously the most important thing.
So that made me laugh so much. The fact that all their clothes, really, but their clothes make me laugh anyway, most of the time, because they wear the most obscure things all the time. But Ian was in this episode in particular, I think, they could not look more British.
But he had a massive rip down the back of his suit. Did you notice that? I did
notice that. That came later. But just forgetting that, this whole episode, their opening clothes could not look more 60s British. But Ian never undoes the button on his jacket.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, I mean, there's not much time, maybe.
He'll rip the back of it. It'll be but he'll keep it done up.
He's a smart hero.
He's a smart hero indeed.
But yeah, again, Ian takes some of the action, but because I think there's so many other guest people like David and Tyler, he doesn't get he doesn't have the whole burden of it all on him, which usually he does have to do all the fights, all the rope work and climbing work and tunneling. It's spread out so much with everybody else that he doesn't have to do it as much, I think, in this.
Yeah. Let's talk about Susan.
During all the years I've been taking care of you, you in return have been taking care of me.
Grandfather, I belong with you.
Not any longer, Susan. You're still my grandchild, and always will be. But now, you're a woman too. I want you to belong somewhere. to have roots of your own.
Okay, here we go. Susan, can I just say, were you expecting Susan to leave at the end of this?
Absolutely not.
I knew it. It's so good when it's a surprise.
Yeah, no, I was not expecting it.
Even with all the little hints with David throughout, with her, it starts off quite early.
So, but bear in mind, in season 1, there were hints about, like, not hints, but there were things like about Barbara and her, like, you know, with her men and all this sort of stuff. So I hear what you're saying, but no, I did not suspect it. And also, if anything, I suspected once the Daleks were done with, that David might go with them.
Oh,
I
wow,
suspected
that's interesting.
that more. Thought like, well, this is done for me here. There's nothing more for me here to fight. Maybe I'll join you. Because like she says, doesn't she, like, Grandpa will let you come.
David wasn't in it as much as I thought he was, actually. He doesn't really do a lot, and you don't get to know him that well. And they're all talking like they know him really well by the end of it.
Yeah. And bear in mind, like, Barbara and Ian have not really got to know this man at all. They don't talk, they don't even meet him. And so Ian is like talking to him at the end, because it's that really funny, like, father mother scene, isn't there, right at the end, where Barbara's like, come on Dad, because he's trying to talk to him, like, awkwardly. Like, how does she know what their relationship is? She doesn't know. She hasn't, like, they have not spoke to this guy, because the whole episode they've all been so distant. They've all been on their own little, like, stories. So it's really, yeah, like, they don't have any connections at all. It's really.
But the Doctor has a bit of an inkling throughout. At least he has seen, and he has put sort of 2 and 2 together, and he's like, right, I think it is time. And at least the Doctor, right at the end, I mean, I don't think she doesn't really have. Poor Susan, if she changes her mind the next day, like, she's going to marry someone. This is Susan's second. What's it called? This is Susan's Married at First Sight, but like literally, like this is the equivalent of them talking for 16 hours behind a screen, and then she said yes.
Yeah.
And then that's it. She has no choice. She's stuck there now.
And that's it as well. Like, they're brought together by extreme circumstances. That's not a basis for a relationship. I'm just saying.
Well, she has that nice bit where she's like, oh, I'd love to help rebuild the planet, and I'd love to be somewhere. And, you know, after they've been through the sewers with the alligators and everything. And he is very much protective of her. But also, I mean, she's quite young.
Yeah, but also, it's like, there's extreme things. There's like people who go through, okay, like, what did they say about people who went through, like, World War II, and there were all the people that got married during that. And then after the war, they realised, oh, actually, we know nothing about each other. That is what this is. That is what it is. They don't know anything about each other. They've just been in an extreme situation that's brought them together. And now the Doctor's decided, nope, this is who your man is, and off you go.
But at least they did try and sort of pepper it through the beginning, through the story. You know, they fight with that, you know, with the fish and the cooking. At least it's not suddenly right at the end. It could have been, it's not amazing, but it could have been so much worse. They could have really focused on the Dalek story and then literally had that end bit where she's like, I'm staying. At least they've tried to add it through the story with David and make him a little bit more of a character. I feel like I don't know who David is or anything, or what will happen to Susan if she stays with him, apart from what he knows, farming or something. But
I also don't feel like at the end Susan really wants to be there.
But I think the Doctor, he locks her up because she will never leave him by choice. I think because she will always look after him. And it's such a great speech from the Doctor at the end. That is a classic speech. I mean, the whole one day I will come back, that is like, you get merchandise with that on, and that is his most well-known moment. that bit where he's talking to Susan. That is like an all-time classic, iconic moment.
No, completely. But what I would have liked is for her to, other than, like, it kind of felt when she dumped, what was that necklace or something? It kind of felt that she...
It was a TARDIS key.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that. I thought it might have been the TARDIS key. She dumps it kind of like, dick.
Oh, and she's only got one shoe.
Yeah, and she's done with one shoe. Like, the whole thing's ridiculous. But it felt more that rather than, I'm going to come and start my life with you. Like, whereas it's more, I can't believe he's done that. She's more like upset at him and angry at it, I kind of felt. I can't explain it. I'm sure how to explain.
Yeah, and I thought it was sad. I know Ian and Barbara don't even get to say goodbye. She doesn't have a moment with them at all. They get in the TARDIS. That's it. They all get in the TARDIS without saying goodbye.
Yeah, well, I guess they didn't know it was going to be goodbye. But then also, yeah, I don't know. It's just she sort of seems bitter and angry. I'd have liked it, like, and she sort of throws that down. We shouldn't throw it, but she sort of puts it down. And I guess I would have liked it more if there'd have been maybe a little bit more sentiment to it. Maybe if there'd been a bit more of like a moment of looking, maybe placing it almost like, and that part of my life is done and I walk into my new. I don't know. It just all seemed a little bit
It doesn't feel like she's left for love and a life. It sort of feels like he's dropped her off to some new adoptive parents.
Yes, like she's been dumped. It felt like she's been dumped here, and that's what that is. And she's bitter about it. And now I'm with this guy.
Are you sort of, sad to see her go? Are you sort of like, oh, well, we've seen she's never going to progress, so that's enough of her? Or would you have liked to see more of her? Or are you happy that she's moved on?
Ask me after the next episode whether I've missed her or not.
Okay.
Which isn't an answer. But do you know what? It kind of felt... I feel like the writers... Do you think they gave... Do you think Terry Nation went to them okay, so got a great idea. It's going to be the Daleks and we're going to dump Susan.
I don't think he would have been part of that. I think it was... He just had to put it in. But I think it's done very well.
Oh, yeah. No, it is. It is done well. That's what I mean. It is done really well. But it's just funny. Because he got a very good deal, didn't he? In terms of writing a memorable script.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's such, and at the height of everything as well for everybody. This was everybody I think would have been watching this story.
Yeah, which is a great time to do it.
And also, when we talked about the Daleks, that was made into a feature film. This was made into the second feature film,
right?
As well,
even though it feels like a feature film.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, it again, like the Daleks movie, it was the Peter Cushing one, and yeah, they recreated all those iconic moments in London. Obviously, big screen, color, big set. You can imagine how it goes. Obviously, this feels very filmic to me. I mean, the movie version is even better as well.
Yeah,
but it follows exactly the same.
After watching this and watching the second and watching the last one, it makes me feel like season 2 continues in a bigger way than season 1. Like it feels like Doctor Who steps up.
I feel like, the popularity is peak right now. I think that's probably what it is. But I think we need to learn some rules from season 1 that if we have a really good story, then we probably will have a not so good story next.
Okay.
And then, we didn't really go into the next story then. We just left Susan and off they went. So Dr. Ian and Barbara.
Yeah.
So we will see if it continues in epic epicness, but I'm saying maybe not. But we'll see. We'll see what you think.
I can't wait to see the next episode, Ian and Barbara's reaction. I think that's what I'm excited for.
Okay.
Whether it's just sort of brushed over or whether they do have some sort of reaction to Susan's drop off.
Yeah, well, it's a 2-parter next, so it's a shorter one. for us to watch. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and yeah, I just knew you would react to those moments.
I did, even to the point that I was so on it. I spelt Barbara's name wrong when I texted you. I was so like, what?
I did feel emotional when Susan went. If I watch it at the right time, I can shed a tear at Susan leaving. With that speech as well is part of it that the Doctor does. I find that emotional. This is my first real emotional moment of the series.
Oh, Mark. Yeah, maybe later for me.
Cool. Well, we better wrap it up then. So let us know what you think about this story and Susan leaving, or anything else, and we will talk about that at the end of this series. So you can follow us on Twitter to Watch Who, and on Instagram to Watch Who, and we will be back very soon. Probably still not out of isolation just yet, for the next story. Well, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
To Watch Who.
Hey, Doctor Who, what are you talking about?